Hey everybody. Um, if you're watching this video, please be sure to click that subscribe button and be sure to like the video. So, before I get into the review of Harlem, let me tell you what is the biggest colossal waste of a teacher's career, time, and use. A fucking snow day on a Saturday. There is literally nothing I can do with that. Okay, that is the time that I actually have to go out and do stuff. But instead, I'm stuck with the snow. Like, anyway. I hate when shit like that happens. Anyway, Harlem episode 7 through 8. Fall back to Rumspringa forward and Joy, Joy, Joy. So this was like the finale or whatever. And like I said, I'm not here for a season 3. I don't think it needs it. I just don't. It's not even because the writing on this show. I don't think the writing is bad per se, in terms of the characters that they wanted. I just think these ladies have zero chemistry on screen, so it doesn't come off as real. It just comes off as somebody who was really inclined to write something very politically conscious and still very fun and very black, but they didn't cast it right. Anyway, so episode 7, fall back to Rumspringa forward. So Camille comes back to her apartment late that night. Ian sleeps on the couch until she comes home. She comes back and blames it on Quinn having a breakdown. Like, we need all hands on deck. That's where I was. So she rushes to the shower. What I thought was to wash off the smell of sex. But that's what we were kind of inclined to believe. But you know, they announced their girls trip last week. So the ladies are prepping for Puerto Rico. That's where they're going. And Quinn is trying to have a eat, pray, love trip. I have actually never seen that movie. Never. All the buzz about that, all the attention it got, I never saw it. So I'm just like, oh, okay. So Quinn tells him that she doesn't fill her prescriptions from her doctor for antidepressants. She said because it's on a need to take basis. And she was like, and I don't feel like I need them. And Angie was like, low key, that makes me so they get to Puerto Rico. Angie, as soon as she gets out the van, starts flirting with the first man she sees is taking their bags. She is already ready to give it up. Like, this trope of the funny, unaccomplished, heavy black woman is tired. I'm sorry, it's tired. Like, I actually think Angie, like, as a actor, as a comedic actress, has a real career ahead of her. But just kind of the over sexualized, darker complexion woman, it's like bullshit. Anyway, so they're relaxing on the beach, but Camille is like on her fucking Google Chromebook. I was like, huh? Like, that, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, that would be something I would do, but I'd have to actively like not do it. Anyway, I was like, what that Wi-Fi like in Puerto Rico? Is it like that on the beach? Can you really get Wi-Fi on the beach? Any beach? Anyway. So they're relaxing on the beach, but Camille is working, on her laptop. Can someone please explain to me how in real life Camille on an adjunct salary with no job lined up is vacationing in Puerto Rico? Right, and then I realized, oh, the grant money. Okay, anyway, so you should have kept that for your rent, girl, just in case you don't find nothing. But that's just me. I was like, especially if Ian is sleeping on the couch. So Angie is wondering what is wrong with her for not wanting to flirt with different men. And Quinn was like, she's falling in love. Quinn runs into Keith randomly. Keith from NYU, because all four of them went to NYU and they've been college friends. Even though they weren't so close that they didn't know Todd was married to a man for years. And then he shows up out of nowhere when she goes to get her fibroids taken care of. And apparently this is her real husband in real life. Quinn's real husband in real life. Okay. This shit is just like, it's not even choppy. I want to believe that this show could be better, but I just don't think we need any more guesses. So they go out for drinks, her and Keith from NYU. All right. After a random meetup on the beach, they started talking about their worst dating stories. And she was like, have you ever been broken up with on your birthday 3 times in a row? I was like, oh, ooh, I was like, were you dating friends, girl? Anyway, he said he was cheating on at his grandmother's funeral during the eulogy. Sir, don't make up lies. Anyway, so he said, see, you should have never broken up with me. And she fell for game real quick. And it's only a day into this trip. And I'm like, what the fuck? She thinks Live and Eat. She thinks she's living the movie Eat, Pray, Love. Like I said, I've never seen it, but whatever, girl. So Keith and Quinn are in the club and they leave and they walk outside and he starts kissing on her neck and then all of a sudden she sees her mom. And I thought she was just having flashbacks, like she was feeling insecure about something. And then she says, "Mom," and her mom answers and says, "Is everybody I?" She was like, "Is everybody I know on the island?" And I'm like, "Where? What the fuck? Why? Why is Miss Joseph on the island? Why, AKA Whitley Gilbert, AKA Jasmine Guy?" So Angie is on the phone with Michael. Go back to the club. Angie's on the phone with Michael, trying to have phone sex with Michael because she's on the roof. Then all of a sudden, the Puerto Rican police helicopter search crew is over her, spotlighting her and blowing these distracting wings, and it's blowing her hair. She can hardly see. She runs back in the club. Somebody in the club walks up to Angie and says, "Look, they are snatching up American black girls." And then she finds Camille because she was like, "Oh no, not on my watch." And Camille tells her, "Girl, it's you. We looking for you. We set a search for you." She was like, "Girl, I was leading my own search party." That shit had me dying. Anyway, so Angie called Quinn's mom and told her about Puerto Rico. "Angie, you know Quinn and her mother are not close like that. And I know you may have thought you were helping, even if this is scripted as fuck. But still, I was like, look, Angie, we don't need nobody down there making her need her antidepressants more. All right? That could have waited, or you could have had her talk to her before she left." Anyway, so her mom said, "Look, why are you feeling down? Why are you feeling low? Why are you feeling disconnected?" And she said, "Look, you get depression from your father's side." And I just kind of rolled my eyes like, here we go, blaming one parent. She was like, she didn't know her father had been on antidepressants pretty much his whole life. She was like, "Because he chose to pretend around you girls." She said, "But it's genetic." And then Quincy goes, "Why do black families keep this a secret?" And I just felt like that is such, this is what I mean. Like, I feel like it could be a good politically conscious show, but it's so forced. It's so not, it doesn't seem authentic. That's the thing. And when you watch a good movie or a good show, you want it to feel authentic. All right? Anyway, so her mother flew into Puerto Rico to tell her that her father had depression because she apparently couldn't have done it any other time. And then she wants to get plastic face surgery. Whatever. So Camille admits to Angie about the liaison, if you will, with Jameson. Because Jameson and Ian about what's what when it comes to, looks. So they do a flashback, and they actually took a power nap from working on their grant in his bed. I was like, first of all, Camille. Okay, now she fell asleep with him in bed, but like she just slept. And when she realized she had been laying down, she got up and ran out of the apartment. So Angie read Camille bad, but for her own good when she was telling her this. And she says, "That's why you're going to keep it between us and not between anybody else." And I agree with that part as I was watching that episode. Because she was like, Camille doesn't want kids and you're looking for ways to have Ian break up with you so you don't have to sit in your choice and you can avoid the truth. And I was like, that's deep. That's deep. And men especially, if the roles were reversed, that's exactly what they do. A lot. And I agree that oversharing is not good. Like, telling everything is not a good thing. Saying, "I'm transparent, I'm an open book." Like, why? And most people who say that aren't transparent. But my thing is, with stuff like that, just in general, everything that you know as a human being is not meant to be told. And can cause somebody more damage as opposed to immediate or even long-term healing. "Oh, well, I needed to get this off my chest so I could feel better, but I did something to break you in the process." Everything is not meant to be told. I'm not saying that there aren't many things that are important and need to be handled. But nah. Some shit you just need to leave alone. So they do this cleansing exercise at the beach. One of them real, like, whatever things. It's like sage. Anyway, so Camille decides she is going to drop the Black motherhood study. She said, because it's not my story to tell. And I was like, that's an interesting approach. She said, but if her grant is approved, she's going to call it Black Joy. And I hate to say this, but I'm kind of over people going Black Joy, Black Joy, Black Joy. I was like, Black Joy has always existed. Black Joy is like what the church is about, because joy isn't like happiness. You cannot be happy and still have joy, that there's something inside of you that still radiates knowing everything's going to be okay. And yeah, it is, but I think it's getting so overused that I'm just like, oh. But that's just me. That's just me. Anyway, she's going to tell it Black Joy because that's so original at this point. So Quinn finally finds out that Michael and Angie have been talking. That the Michael that Angie was talking about was her Michael. And this is in Puerto Rico, who her mom tried to hook her up with. And she said, now he's with you? Angie said, what's that supposed to mean? Ty goes, well, that Black Joy didn't last long. Anyway, so moving on from that, we get the longer episode. Episode 8. Joy, 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 joy. So Camila's doing, like, you know, her anthropology project on Black Joy, and she does a lot of it by highlighting her friends. She shows Angie, who finally got a lead in the role opposite of Jennifer Lewis, and talking about her relationship with Michael, like the things that have changed for her. The unresolved problem, however, is that Quinn is still bothered that Angie is dating Michael. And that's kind of a weird space to reside in. Quinn was not interested in him. She didn't want him. She was dating a girl at the time. They met randomly. Angie did not know Michael had any connection to her. And I think about it, there are times where that's iffy. Like, I had a former friend, and I remember me and this guy I was dating at the time, and we had all gone to college together, but at this time, we had graduated. So, I mean, like, you have similar circles or whatever. Anyway, we were dating, we had gotten this big argument. She was supposed to be, like, one of my closest friends, so I had called her and just told her, look, we got into it, whatever. And me and her got into it about something. Not at that moment, but she was dating a guy who was abusive. Okay. Like, not emotionally. And after I had said, look, that's not healthy, she got mad at me. All of a sudden, this was a while ago because I'm not on Facebook anymore. She got on Facebook, got on his page, asking him how he was doing. She wanted me to see it. And to me, like, I never thought he wanted her, but I felt like she was doing it to be bitchy. And even though they had never had a relationship or anything, I went off like, are you kidding me? Like, what are you doing? But anyway, it's just a weird place to reside. Anyway, so they get into a brunch, and Quinn says, well, look, I'm not bothered. And Angie says, well, I think you're jealous. She said, well, after that comment, like, my mother introduced me to him, and now he's with you. I was like, well, it is given, at least you're not as good as me. Then she tells Angie, the next time you decide to hook up with a random Uber driver, just remember I told you so. Ty almost choked on her drink. Then Angie leaves but comes back for her vodka. She ends up at Camille's apartment talking about Michael. I guess that's where she's staying now because her and Angie get along. Like, I just want Angie to have an apartment and some kind of consistent income next. I probably won't review it because people ain't checking for these reviews. Anyway, and she ends up at Camille's apartment talking about Michael and that there is no reason why she shouldn't be with Michael except Quinn is that reason. And she said that's too big of a reason, to lose your friend. Then she asked Camille, she was like, well, would you have been mad if I slept with Jameson? You don't want him. And Camille was like, no. And she said, good, because I did. And Camille was like, what, really? She says, no, I'm joking. She said he was all right. And so Camille goes, wait, what? But she said it enough times to make you go, just in case. See, that to me is where the sticky shit resides. Once you've slept with somebody. But anyway, so Quinn is with Keith for 2 weeks, and she bakes him a cupcake and a candle. And I was just like, oh, Quinn, this is what I mean by her. She was gay for a month. Like, come on. Anyway, Michael shows up to Quinn's boutique, though. And he came over to her boutique to ask about Angie. And before he could, she says, wait, tell me about my girl, Angie. And he was like, no, I came over here to ask you the same question. And he tells her that Angie broke up with him because of her. Because Quinn comes first. And he talks about how Quinn, he's trying to understand. He was like, because you were clear when we first met that you were not interested in me at all. And he says, so for this to be an issue, that's confusing to me. Because why would she be hurt? Like, why would you be hurt? And she was supposedly into women. Like, Quinn, get your life. It would be different if her and Michael had actually dated at any point. That would be different for me. Had kissed, had sex, anything. But other than that, it doesn't count. And she met him when you weren't even around, and I mean, like, you was in your shower, pretending like you was at a Vogue party and you was crying. All right, but what the fuck is wrong with Michael's hair? Like, who the fuck is on set? Why is the only person who is styling and profiling Camille and Quinn? Anyway, so then she covers Ty. This is all part of her documentary. Ty is launching a sister site to the Q app. Ty talks about it is indescribable to be a black woman in today's society and in control of her own life. And I was like, Ty, you may be in control at work, but your personal life is fucked up. Okay? So then the plant lady, whose name is Amy, who's the black girl from The Craft, y'all remember the movie? Despite the fact that she keeps killing plants, she doesn't want to sell her any more plants, but she asked her out on a date. And so Ty's just like, let me make a few calls, and this and the other. She was like, no, a real date. She said, that's you showing off. So they go to the famous fish market, and I was like, oh, not there. Not there. Okay. My apartment's in Harlem. Anyway, so the woman tells her she has a daughter and an ex-husband, and she said, so when did you figure out you like women? She said, well, as a Gen Xer, I just described it as I like what I like. Moving on. So Camille talks about herself. Next, and I'm sorry, I meant to say like in the documentary, she's talking about herself. So she meets Ian at the house, all right, and that he's trying to buy for them, and she's like, can we afford this? He's making plans for a new home. He's showing her the garden. He was like, that's where we can see our two kids playing, named Zora and Langston. Shout out to Zora Neale Hurston. Shout out to Langston Hughes. And turning the guest room into a nursery. And he's talking all his ideas. And she was like, well, can we afford this? And she said, especially with the Mira stuff going on, he said, my mom and dad took care of it. They're going to take out a home equity loan, and he'll just make payments monthly. He was like, so I got this. So Quinn's mom shows up at Camille's apartment. She tells Jameson, oh, he's very handsome, and that she knows people she can hook him up with. This is after her and Ian finish up looking at a house, right? And he says, well, look, this isn't to pressure you about having kids. But then we get, boom, Camille's at her apartment. And Quinn's mother, Miss Joseph, shows up. She tells James how handsome he is and that she knows people she can hook him up with. And then Quinn's mother kind of stays for a second. And Camille's kind of like, why are you here or whatever. And then she asked her about motherhood. And so she says it's a lot of joy, but she was like, it's also fleeting. Like, essentially, she was basically saying, it's just something you have for your life, and not everybody may want it. And by the way she treats her daughters, it seems like it wasn't something she wanted. So Ian's Aunt Tammy, and that gives Camille something to think about. Ian's Aunt Tammy meets him at the restaurant and says, your mom called. And he says, is it my father? She says, no, it's you. Anyway, she gives him the $68,000 he needed and got him out of trouble with Mira's wedding. But she was like, you need to fucking grow up, basically. Like, you knew you were still in love with somebody else. And so now he's wondering about being in love with Camille, but taking Camille and not having kids. So the girls go to see Camille's exhibit because all this project comes together and congratulate her on it. Angie and Quinn still have tension. Girls, ladies, let's not do this, okay? Dr. Pruitt actually comes to her exhibit and tells Camille, how good it is. And she was like, well, the good part is there's department heads from NYU and Spelman and Yale who want to meet with her about teaching jobs. And I'm glad they threw in a HBCU. Shout out to Spelman. Just so they're not acting like the pinnacle of success is, white institutions. All right? You can accomplish great things when you do great things. All right, so her mom shows up at the exhibit. I'm talking about Camille's mom, the one from the school day shit. And and so she supports her. Quinn goes to talk to Angie, pulls her aside, and Jameson and Camille thank everybody for coming to the exhibit. Next thing you know, we're getting Frankie Mays and Beverly playing, and Dr. Pruitt kind of leans over to Jameson and says, I don't know if I'm ready to let her go. And Jameson said, I don't know if I am either. So Frankie Mays and Beverly start playing, that's the song. Then Jameson walks over to Ian and like hugs him, and all I could think was, and he betrayed him with a kiss. If you know your Bible, you know where that comes from. All right. So anyway, so Quinn sets up a makeup date with Angie and Michael as they leave the exhibit. Ty walks Amy home. Amy said, "Look, I don't sleep with people on the first date." So Zoe texts her, and she starts to try to sleep with her, but uses a dildo. Then Amy texts her, and Ty leaves to go see what she wants. She was like, "Zoe, you got to get out of here." And Zoe's like, "Untie me." Anyway, so Michael actually ends up asking Angie to marry him on a park bench to a scratch off, which was actually kind of weirdly cute. Quinn meets Keith and kisses him on the cheek. He was like, the cheek, and she has a bouquet of flowers for him, but she tells him, "Look, I really need to fall madly in love with myself first." Quinn, I think everybody tried to tell you that, but okay, girl. Quinn tells him, this, and he says, "Look, I just want to let you know, if you ever come back, I'll do it again and again and again." I thought that was really sweet. I really thought that was sweet. But anyway, she goes on a dream date, which is on the yacht, but she does it by herself. And that was interesting. So Amy invites Ty over. That's why she left Zoe and told her to let herself out. And is trying to really kind of have, not a sex night, but an intimate night. And Ty was like, "Look, I need to go pee." And she was like, "Okay, just don't wake my kid," right? So I'm thinking like some 12-year-old, that it was some boy, maybe, whatever. She finds out that the girl who is her daughter is Zoe. She has been fucking this woman's daughter. Oh my gosh. And Zoe asks her, like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" Especially as she just kicked her out of her apartment. And they're both like, how do you know Ty? And Ty is like, "Shit." Right? So Camille and Ian are talking. After her event, he's telling her how proud he is of her, and they're kissing and stuff. And she says, my work is like my baby. She was like, "For now." And he was like, "Uh-huh." And she was like, "Maybe forever." And Camille says when the doctor told her about her eggs, she never felt sadness. The only thing she wanted, the only thing she could feel was relief. She said, and I feel like most women who find out they don't have eggs and want to be mothers, they're hurt. She said, I wasn't. I was just relieved. And I can believe that. Because I've never been big on having children. There's an element of freedom that comes with doing your own thing. The things mothers do and have to do is no small feat. Period. So she just tells Ian not to hate her, and he says, "I don't." He says, "But being a father is still my dream, reading to my kids at night." And she was like, "You're going to be a great father." And he was like, "I can't believe we came all this way for it to end like this." And he walks away. It's a slow motion and shit. And I feel a way too. But, fuck it, you got to be honest. The next thing we know, the ladies, all four of them, are at the doctor to get looked at. I was like, who in the fuck got an STD? I was like, any of them could have. Never mind. So the doctor says, nothing is wrong with you and your baby is fine, but we don't know who is having one. Let me tell you something. This show don't do nothing right. It does cliffhangers right. But see, I think this was the end of the second season. I don't see a third. I can see people putting bad shit on TV. But just in terms of a third season, this cast just has no chemistry. Like, I really do think the writers wrote it well in terms of what they were trying to do, but they casted it wrong. The lines are late. They're not delivered in a believable way. And I'm just like, miss me. But anyway, y'all be sure to like and subscribe. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.